fantastic charity. So please, give if you can by following the link on the stream description or by typing in the link that you will see scrolling across the screen on our information bar. Every little helps, and we'll be reading donations out periodically throughout the show. Alternatively, you can actually purchase one of the UKSM shirts or hoodies that can be found in our store. The link to that is also in the stream description. And now, next up, we have Drakodan with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So, whenever you're ready, introduce yourself, your run, and give us a countdown so we can accurately keep track of your time.
I'll certainly do that, thank you very much. I am Drakodan, as Matt says. Behind me I've got Argic on the couch.
Hello!
This is going to be Sonic Adventure 2 Hero Story, so just before I get started with the run, I do need to explain that in the first stage there's going to be a specific glitch that I'm going for. I don't have time to explain it as it's going on, so pretty much when I get 40 seconds into the stage, I'm going to need to try to store a lot of speed downhill through a speed pad so that I don't slow down, and I'm going to be pause buffering a series of inputs to try and get a specific ramp jump to get a lot of airtime. If I get zipped to the right after I land after that, I've landed it, this saves about 30 seconds. It's very difficult, very inconsistent. It's only been done once in a major marathon like this by myself when I was at ESA, so we'll hope it goes well, but I'm only really going to give it one proper attempt. But with that said, if everyone's ready, then we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so, as I say, this is Hero Story. So, this is quite a unique type of speedrun, in that it includes 3 main types of gameplay. Rather than most speed games using one specific character or set of mechanics, you've got to use 3 characters in this run, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and they all play very differently. I'm just going to be explaining them as they come. Where we're using Sonic on the board here, this is one of the only sections of the game where we actually use the board. Once we actually get on the ground, we're going to see Sonic's main gameplay style. So now we just have normal running around and spin dashing. This is how Sonic moves through most of the game. And as I go around the next corner, I'm going to be coming up on the aforementioned skip, so I'm just really going to focus on this for a sec. Alright, I'm going to try to get one ramp jump. I'm just going to get the specific jump I need off the ramp once, and if I don't get it, I'm going to carry on without it.
Yes!
Come on. Damn it. Alright. So basically, if I got zipped to the right there, then I would have triggered the skip. That depends on a lot of things, including your current position, your speed value, and yeah, there's a lot of ways that that doesn't work, very few ways that it does work. And it does save about 30 seconds when we get it, but it's not a huge deal. We get to see the rest of City Escape now. So the main way that I'm going to be moving through the game, as Sonic at least, as you can see, I'm exploiting the spin dash a lot. The spin dash is by far the quickest way to move, especially when going downhill. Whenever I'm going down a slope, I just want to let the spin dash roll. Whenever I'm going along flat ground or I'm going uphill, I want to chain the spin dashes repeatedly. So we just go around a corner there. Can't see what I'm doing, but it's fine. There's a lot of not really being able to see what you're doing in this game, because this game and the first Sonic Adventure game are pretty infamous for the camera being less than cooperative at certain times. So this is what I mean by just letting the spin dash roll. Whenever I'm going down these hills, all I'm doing when recharging the spin dash is doing it as I'm going over the crest of these hills, because if you go too fast over a hill like that, you are very likely to just latch off the ground and go in the air, which wastes quite a bit of time. Having airtime in this game is considerably slower than going along the ground. So considering a couple of attempts at the CE skip and then not getting it, a 2-minute flat time for CE Escape skipless is not too bad at all. Like, it wastes several seconds to attempt the skip like that, especially if you don't get it. I also didn't get an emblem cutscene here. Before doing this run, I set up a glitch which basically disables the acquisition of the emblem cutscenes for as long as the game is booted. So although this game uses in-game timing for the actual run timing, we just add up all of the level times together. For the purpose of doing a marathon like this, not having to watch the emblem cutscenes, it saves about 2 minutes in change, so I figure, why not do it?
This is Spider Troop Bigfoot. Bigfoot to headquarters, over. We've engaged the enemy and request backup.
So I'm just going to wait for him to come back in bounds on this box here.
What? For just
it's actually a little dangerous to spin dash towards the boss without any rings like that, because the spin dash immediately makes you drop down, and it's very easy to actually contact his machine gun fire. So we're coming into the first Knuckles stage here. I mentioned the characters are very different. In Knuckles' stages, they are non-linear. You're trying to find 3 pieces of the Master Emerald, which are randomly generated throughout the stage. So we use these hint monitors to tell us where they are. Each hint corresponds to a specific location, so there is a lot of memorization in these stages.
2 more left.
There. I'm also trying to keep an eye out as I'm playing through these for any free pieces that are hanging around. Okay, that's top here.
It's closer. One more lap.
Like, the game always shows you which is the first piece, then the second piece, then the third piece, but if you just see pieces hanging around, you can just grab them without needing to get the hints. But
it's closer.
Oh, please. Yeah, the hitbox on that piece is particularly finicky. A 32, I wouldn't say is particularly good for Wild Canyon. The randomness involved in the Knuckle stages creates a lot of time variance across the run.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Top level runs, there is at least a minute of difference across like all the top runs just from the RNG that you get in the stages. And now we're coming into Tails' gameplay, which we actually get a boss before any of Tails' stages, and Tails uses the mech. A lot of people complain about this, but I think it's kind of a mark of, as people get more familiar with the game and more advanced with this game, they mind the mech gameplay less and less. It's just very difficult to use the mech optimally. Tails is probably the most difficult to understand the fundamentals of the three characters, mainly because it's difficult to get to your top speed, and then it's difficult to maintain that speed. The problem with Tails' mech is that it can't corner very efficiently. There's a lot of like right angle corners in these stages, which I'm going to have to jump around like this. If you try and do sharp cornering on the ground, it just doesn't conserve the momentum very well. And Prison Lane's gimmick is that there are all these locked doors which are guarded by enemies, so there's a lot of early targeting that I'm trying to do. Like, specific enemies guard locked doors, and the auto-targeting system in this game is a little weird. It doesn't particularly care if you have a direct line of sight between you and a particular enemy. It just judges if you are in a specific position to be able to hit specific enemies. And I missed a little elevator skip there because, again, I tried to do a jump there, but I cornered a little too sharply on the ground and lost all my momentum. So that's kind of an example of what I mean. Even just slight errors in movement as Tails, it can actually lead to speed losses, which can cause you to miss certain strats, and like, it's a lot trickier than it looks to play Tails well. Like, just watching someone play Tails, it looks fairly simple. It looks basically like a fast Let's Play, but then when you try it yourself, it's very difficult to move quickly with Tails and to maintain that speed. So we need to get the two enemies there for this game. I'm going to try to go a little early as soon as I see this enemy, jump over a shot. Cornering. There's one difficult early lock-on I can get here. Hopefully I got that. No, I missed it. Unfortunately, if you aim in the wrong direction there, you hit some sort of targeting trigger, which basically just prevents you from being able to get that lock-on. I don't really understand why the game does that, but yeah, this game's weird. And now there's a bunch of lock-ons I need to get in the last room here. And then just do a pivot turn to try and get to the end ring as quickly as possible. A 141 it's okay. I've got like I think a 136 in my PB, and I did miss the first, like, little gate skip there. Those cost a couple of seconds in change each time you miss them, so that's not too bad. We're coming into Metal Harbor here. This is a very hazard-heavy stage. Most of the stage is above water, which you just fall in the water, you'll die immediately. And there's a lot of skipping over the little of the stage that we play. So there's a lot of death risk in this stage, and we're also going to pick up the first upgrade in the run. Sonic is going to get the light shoes, which allows us to light dash over trails of rings. Oh, okay. So I missed the jump input there, and yeah, there's nothing you can do to prevent a death at that point, which is unfortunate. But if that's the only death that I take in the run, then it's not a particularly heavy one. Alright, here we go. This is where we're meant to be. So unfortunately, pretty much every action in this game is on the same button. A controls jump, and B/X controls everything else. Spin dashing, somersaulting, light dashing, bouncing when we've got that, it does everything. And it's pretty much just context sensitive. It depends when you're using the button, how long you're holding it for, so there's a lot of... Whoa! Okay, loop speed. That is a glitch that decided not to cooperate there. But yeah, like I say, context sensitive inputs. There's a lot of like knowing how to handle all the actions being on the same button in this game. So let's try this one more time. There we go. If I delay that homing attack a little longer, then as long as I wait until I'm above the solid ground, the loop speed won't shoot me out the bottom. How about that? Alright, so we're going to use a little bit of a slope jump here. Gravity is very dynamic in this game.
15 seconds.
And you can get really high jumps by being on a upslope and having a lot of speed. The spin dash gives you so much speed in this game, and there's a lot you can do with it. There's going to be a lot of moments like that throughout the game. And the next main stage, Green Forest, has one of the most difficult main skips in the game, which, I mean, I'm going to give it a couple of attempts. I cannot promise that I'm going to land it, but it is very aesthetically pleasing if it goes well, so I really hope I'm going to get it. It's one of those skips you see and it's like, what is happening? So I really hope it goes well. Also, 69, nice. 124 is okay. Let's just pretend I didn't take the 2 deaths. How's it going, Nog?
All good?
How's it going, EGX? Woo! I know people are gonna recite this cutscene, so I'm just not even gonna talk.
Hey, that's
that blue hedgehog again of all places.
I found you.
Every time.
Faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? You're not even good enough.
I'll make you read those words.
The fastest possible time you can get in this fight is 10.94, so I'm going to see how close I can get to that.
Get the chance.
I missed the first input, so never mind. You have to time when to start the first input there, since if you try and spin dash before you gain control of Sonic, it just doesn't do anything. That's unfortunate. So that was quite a heavy mistake for me. Normally I like to get a 10 in that fight. I said the best possible time you can get is 10.94. That is assuming complete optimal execution. I'm pretty happy with anything between a 10.95 to a 10.99. Otherwise I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. High standards in this game. Like, the ceiling of optimization in this game for the specific ILs is extremely, extremely high. Like, a lot of ILs in this game are frame wars, especially the short ILs like those boss fights. So I mentioned there's going to be a major skip here in Green Forest. I say major, it only saves about 15 seconds if performed correctly. So if I don't get it in the first couple of attempts, it doesn't even really save time. But this is a very, very difficult skip. There's a lot of exploits going on, including skewing the direction of gravity. I mentioned that gravity is very dynamic in this game. Basically, whenever you go on a slope, the direction of gravity is temporarily reassigned. That's how the game lets you run on walls and run on ceilings and stuff, like when you're going around loops. But there's certain things you can do to trick the game into keeping gravity at a skewed angle for longer than it's meant to. And if I get on the side of specific loops and hit loop speed triggers, which is how the game helps you around loops, by homing attacking into them whilst gravity is skewed, some funky stuff can happen, and that's hopefully going to happen as I come up to the big upward tree climbing section here. This is really, really hard though, so I'm really going to focus on this for a sec. This is one of my least consistent tricks in this run. And even if I get on the wall, it is not over. Getting on the wall is honestly the easy part of this. Alright, I didn't even land in the loop speed trigger there somehow, so I'm just going to give this another attempt. I want to at least land on the wall once, but like this I could easily spend all my lives here. Alright, I'm not going to be able to use the version I want. I'm not on the right part of the tree, but I can at least run up the tree. So you get to see most of it like this. We just run up like that, why not? And thankfully I managed to contact something. I was not confident about making the end of that, but we'll deal with it. So we got about half a skip, I'll take it. And I got rejected by loop speed again. Thankfully there was a checkpoint that I just passed there, so I'm going to take this considerably safer this time. I'm just going to do an early homing attack. And we're just going to go straight onto the end of the stage. Yeah, a few hiccups in the run so far, but it's mainly minor deaths. There are much, much more costly deaths you can take in this run, believe me, such as if I'd missed the spring entirely there, dearie me.
Yes!
But that's Green Forest. So, in my opinion, this game is divided into 3 main acts. There's like an early game, a mid game, and a end game.
No problem.
I'd say getting out of Green Forest is getting out the early game. Personally, I think the early game is the hardest part of the run to do consistently back to back. I am really bad at the early game. The mid game has more of the RNG stages and cycle stuff, and then the end game is extremely broken with a lot of large level skips. So I've got Pumpkin Hill here, another very meme-y zone. So my first piece is over here, and I also grabbed the hint monitor as I was going into the upgrade to overlap the text and gain control earlier. Only one on the cliff is over at Church Mountain. There's a lot of ambiguous pieces in this stage as well, like Pumpkin Hill has the highest ratio of pieces that share the same hint name, which can be a little annoying. Thankfully, both of these only have one possible location.
One more left.
So now the third piece is likely to be over at Pumpkin Mountain. Yeah, sorry, Pumpkin. This isn't a particularly good piece set, but they're all non-ambiguous pieces at least. The way that the game actually generates the pieces is that it generates them in sequential order. It generates piece 1, then piece 2, and piece 3, and there are some logical rules that it uses to determine what can actually spawn. Piece 1 is always going to be completely random. It just looks at the number of possible piece 1s, gives you a random one. Then for piece 2, it checks what your piece 1 was, and it always gives you a piece 2 which is far away. Like, it locks out the 50% of piece 2s that are closest to where your piece 1 was. So you'll always do some traveling between piece 1 and 2. It then does a lot of math, looking at total areas between the first 2 pieces you had and all the possible piece 3s. Like, it draws imaginary total boxes or cross-sections, and it gives you a piece 3 that generates a large total cross-section. It sounds really complex. It is very complex, but the TLDR is you're going to do a fair bit of traveling between piece 1 and 2, and piece 3 could, within reason, be almost anywhere. So here's Tails' upgrade, the booster. This allows us to cross wide gaps, but I'm also going to use a pause buffer here to try and get a lot of height. Nice. So what I did there was a hover jump. If you press A after jumping, you get that hover effect, which makes you descend slower. It also makes you ascend higher. It's not too much of a pronounced effect, but the earlier you do it, like the closer your 2 A inputs are together, the more pronounced the ascension is. And even though it's a small difference, it does allow you to get to places that you're not supposed to be able to be, such as getting on that weight early, which is going to let me try and get an earlier cycle at the end of the stage, as well as getting over those cages like that. The reason I'm pausing is to try and get the A inputs as close together as possible. Like, you want to get them as few frames apart as you can possibly do it, and you need to hold the second A input, so it's pretty tricky to consistently do that without using a pause buffer to augment it. So this pace has been totally fine, as long as I don't mess up this hover jump. Then, yeah, the cycle I'm trying to meet is this platform coming down here, so that's the fastest possible cycle you can get in the stage, and as you can see, there is really... Wow, okay, never mind. There is not much leeway for missing that, but then I got it, and then I simply tried to exit that too early. Whoops. So this is the next cycle that I would have gotten. There we go, wait for my visual cue to exit safely. And we're just going to use a wide hover jump to cross this gap here. Now this looks like I'm not going to get in on here. It looks like I'm too low. But the slope part of the fence is not actually solid. Ironically, it's a case of it's safer to clip in there rather than try and do it lower down, because the non-slope part of the fence is a solid surface. You won't clip through that. Some precise movement here to get through those boxes. If you try and hug the wall there, that's not reliable getting through the boxes. You can get stopped there, so you need a little bit of manual cornering. And even though I mentioned that cornering sharply doesn't work and doesn't conserve your momentum, I'm letting the camera do most of the work there as I'm doing that cornering. And it sends me through pretty reliably. Like, as long as you don't use really sharp changes on the control stick, then letting the camera do most of the turning for you actually works relatively well.
That was a little tough.
So here comes Aquatic Mine. I'm going to have to look fairly closely at the intro cutscene, because there is a few free pieces that I can check for as the cutscene is going on.
I didn't expect the inside of the mines to be like this.
It doesn't look like I've got anything, but
this is going to be tougher than
I can't exactly see everything. Okay, I have a reset set anyway. If I don't have a radar ping by the time I reach this area and no... Oh my god, dude. Alright, finally I got something. That's not very good RNG, though. So we always start the stage by going up to the top and hitting switch 3. It's just much easier to navigate the stage when there's no water. Probably in the ghost room or the top room. Oh, here. Okay, that's a little uncommon. What? Okay. Decided not to destroy the enemy. That's totally fine.
It's closer. One more lap.
All right. And I don't have time to do the monster clip. Oh well. This is really not a good set. Like, I'm just having to do a lot of traveling. There's not much I can do about it. Thankfully, I can show you a little glitch here. We can just use these signs to clip out of bounds. Very reliably.
It's closer.
Yeah, the way that Knuckles interacts with those signs when you glide into them in a specific way, it can pretty reliably push you out of bounds. And another 69, very good. This is a good run.
Yeah.
Despite the RNG stages being not good RNG, the 69 makes up for it. So Route 101 is a fairly long driving stage. This is like 2.25 minutes of pretty simplistic driving.
Let's go.
All you need to know about this is that I'm going to start drifting once I reach the first downslope, and this is going to give me a higher speed cap than I should be able to maintain. And I'm just going to be maintaining that through the whole stage and boosting after I, say, go up a slope or hit an obstacle like a wall or a car. But aside from that, there's really not too much to say about this. If there are any donations, now is the perfect time to read them out.
It's okay, Draco. I love you. Hey, Matt.
I'm getting closer.
Hey, got donations?
No.
Aww. What? Can we have some donations, please?
Well, since we don't have any donations, let me do my spiel.
You may do your spiel.
I'll do my spiel. We're raising money for special... It would help if I had it up on my screen. I don't. We're raising money for special effects. If you can donate, please do. They're a fantastic charity who are trying to improve the lives of disabled gamers by giving them custom peripherals to actually be able to play video games with. Seriously, they're a fantastic charity. They do deserve your donations. We've already made £1,006.90, which is
did you find the president?
absolutely incredible. But you know,
Almost, Sonic. Just a few more minutes.
Yeah, they're a great charity, a great cause. And we're having a lot of fun here as well. Again, Draco here is one of the top runners of Sonic Adventure 2. The stuff that you're seeing him pull off here, even with the stumbles that he says, it's very technical stuff. Make sure you check out his runs that he does. All the SA2 people are very good at the top end of what they do. RNG stages are mean. I don't think he's mentioned it yet, but he mentioned how the PCs are located. But there's like over 100 different pieces that these runners memorize. It's ridiculous.
There's approximately 100 pieces per stage, yeah. So there's several hundred piece locations you need to memorize in this. And I know it doesn't look like I'm a top runner based on this run, but I promise I am.
Yeah, you say that. It's still a good run.
This is a hard run. This is a really hard run.
This is hard by Draco standards.
So, coming now into the pyramid stages. Probably, from a technical standpoint, the trio of the most difficult stages in the run. Tails' Hidden Base, Sonic's Pyramid Cave, and Knuckles' Death Chamber. These are really, really hard. Hidden Base is pretty much out of bounds and hover jump haven. Pyramid Cave is, bar none, the most technical stage in the run. Every part of Pyramid Cave is a technical trick in some shape, way, or form. And Death Chamber is something that I'm honestly wondering if I want to tackle with this many lives remaining. Because there are a lot of potential death traps you can use in Death Chamber to get teleports back to the start of the stage, re-roll a more appropriate piece. We'll just see how it goes when I get there. And a little pause hover there to get over the fence and skip over a little corner here.
So just explaining the pause hover there. You're jumping then immediately pausing.
Yeah.
And then when you unpause, are you double tapping A?
Yes, so the input order is basically A start, start A. You can, there are spots where I do it without a pause. I only use the pause for spots where, where it's incredibly precise, like where I need A inputs no more than a few frames apart from each other, because I can't reliably do that without a pause. Alright, so please don't die, because I didn't have the checkpoint. Okay. Oh, I didn't think that I got that, never mind. I was changing my grip to be able to do another pause over there because I thought it was necessary at that point. A little bit of free camera navigation. As long as I hold down when I hover jump off that pulley, I'll always go to the next pulley. Now there's a little bit of out of bounds movement here. These hover jumps are not particularly demanding, but it's surprisingly easy to miss those. It's surprisingly easy to just fall in the sand when you do that. Most runners choose to pause buffer those. I've never been a fan of pause buffering those hover jumps. I honestly find them less consistent if I pause buffer them. Like I say, they're not particularly demanding, you just need a lot of speed, and it's the timing that's important there rather than the jump height. But out of Hidden Base. Alright, so yeah, Pyramid Cave, this stage is no joke. This stage is really complex. Pray for me.
Pray for you, buddy.
Pray for me.
That was a little tough.
Alright, 3 lives. I can get through this without dying 3 times, right?
You won't die any times on Pyramid Cave.
So first of all, I need to ride the correct part of these slopes here so the game thinks I'm going downhill and forces me to accelerate. Then I can interact with this hourglass in a specific way to try and get a nice big bounce off it. There we go, second try. Then I can go down here and get jammed in the corner here to get launched straight up. Spin dash jump right across here. Do a spin dash hover to cross this gap and get to our first upgrade, second upgrade for Sonic, the bounce bracelet. And the bounce bracelet lets us suddenly do stuff like this. So the bounce is extremely broken in this game. Normally you just use it how I did it there, to just gain a little bit more height, but if you bounce before you hit a wall, for whatever reason, the game converts your current horizontal speed into vertical speed. So however fast you were going forwards, you suddenly go that fast upwards. Also, we don't need to worry about that door there. There is a very precise spot where if you just spin dash jump forward at full speed, you can just about clip through between the seam of the door and the wall, but it's extremely narrow. That is a lot more precise than it looks. If you want to have a go at speedrunning this game, I invite you to try and get consistent at hitting that door skip first try. It's a lot harder than it looks, and it gives you an idea of how precise a lot of the stuff is in this game. Also, gravity exploit, using the bounce. And we can just run on walls with enough speed, so it's fine. There's going to be one more of those at the end here. Just go over this rail, open one more door, then there's going to be one more super bounce followed by one more gravity bounce. So get on the side of this loop, and we're just going to bounce straight towards the door ring. There we go. Yeah! That stage really scares me. Like, almost everything you do in that stage has a risk of killing you in some way if you do it incorrectly. Like, either a death or a hefty time loss. That is a really, really difficult stage. Speaking of difficult stages, here's Death Chamber. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to do a lot of improvisation as I'm going through this. Okay, I don't have any free pieces. There's a couple of free pieces I check for at the start of the stage. Big Marshmallow. Now, this piece is in the core. This is a piece that I can try and use a death exploit with. Once I get this piece, what I'm actually gonna do is take an intentional death. The idea being that when I respawn at the start of the stage, I'm hopefully... Oh, speed shoes, nice.
2 more left.
But I don't care, I want to die. Hopefully the game is going to give me a piece in the red room. No, it tried to at the start there, it looks like, but since I don't really have many more lives, I'm not going to push my luck here. What I am going to do, though, is clip to my next piece. If I get behind this box, you can just jump straight out of bounds, and I can just freely travel out of bounds now. So I'm just flying straight to where the next piece is. Or I'm going to clip in here. That's really bad, because I'm actually soft-locked in that room, so I need to die to get out of the room there. Whoops. That was actually a big mistake. Huge black wall. Well, that's right back where I was, and I don't need to clip out of this. But I am on my last life now. Thankfully, as far as game overing goes, it doesn't particularly matter in this game. The game is like really forgiving with game overs. If you game over, the worst thing that happens is you need to restart the current stage. So... like, I always say that this is a difficult game to speedrun in that, you know, it's very technical, there's a lot to learn, but it's not a particularly punishing game to get into, in that if you're a beginner, you can afford to make a lot of mistakes and it doesn't just end the run. Unfortunately, you can't really make that sort of mistake. I need to get back in bounds here. I think this is the right room, actually. Yeah, okay, I really got away with second prize there. Finding where I actually access that room normally. I really needed to improvise there. I was trying to just reset my glide to conserve my height, since the more you maintain a glide in this game, the more you drop down.
Yeah, this is perfect.
And yeah, it's pretty difficult to maintain height like that. But once I didn't have enough height there, if I just fell at that point, I would have died. I would have taken a game over. So I needed to find inbounds quickly, and I needed to find the spot where the actual normal entrance for that room is. So there's a relatively new piece of tech that I'm going to try to go for here, to try and skip a little phase on this boss. Okay, that should be it. Alright, nice. So I bait him by going close to him to start the fireballs early, and then I use a damage boost on the fireball so that I can hit the hourglass early. And this saves a few seconds in the fight, based on just what a regular fight looks like. And the rest of this fight is just a fairly elementary one cycle. I just need to wait for him to be vulnerable and keep delivering punches, so fairly fine. Now, even though that's a fairly easy boss fight, this next boss fight is anything but easy. Considering how inconsistent the endgame is, I'm actually going to exit game here to gain some lives back, because if I re-enter the story, it is going to give me 4 lives when I re-enter the story. Like, I don't really trust myself to do the endgame without dying or restarting once. So this is by far the hardest boss fight in the game. I'm using the same super bounce tech that I did in Pyramid Cave on these very narrow platforms. And when I say they're narrow, I mean I literally have no more than a few frames to perform each super bounce, and I basically just got 3 of them in a row. Like, you have basically 4 or 5 inputs, depending on your speed / position, to get what I call a 2.5 input combination, because you need to release the B button and then press A and B before you reach the end wall like that. Like, that is a lot more difficult than it looks to get on command, so why not? Can I get out of bounds? Ah! I tried to get out of bounds there underneath the stage, but nothing doing. Oh well. So coming into the end game here, this is where the game stops really resembling normal gameplay at this point. We've been playing a lot of the stages. We don't really play these stages. We get out of bounds as soon as possible and just skip them. This is one of the most difficult skips to perform in the run. It's an extremely temperamental clip out that you don't really get repeated attempts at. I mean, I do get repeated attempts at it, but I need to die to reset the state of the stage. Because I'm going to try and break some boxes and make a metal box fall on top of me. This is really, really precise. Oh, first try! That is like so inconsistent, and I don't have the same audio cues that I would normally rely on that, so wow, okay. I'll certainly take that first try. So at this point, we literally just fly to the end of the stage. We just skip the rest of Eternal Engine. The camera is going to invert here. I cannot really tell where I'm going, aside from relying on a couple of vague background cues. So I'm just waiting for the background to look a specific way, be angled a certain way. I'm just going to fly straight towards the screen here for the next 25 seconds. Wait until another cue appears to tell me that I'm at the end of the stage, and then I need to be in a very specific spot to hit the goal ring while out of bounds. If I miss the goal ring, I die, and I need to do the whole stage again, including getting the clip out again. So about 10 seconds I'll reach the end of the stage. Okay, I nearly clipped back in bounds, but that's fine. Dude, please. Okay, that's fine.
I did it!
Phew. There's another audio cue that I rely on there. When you get close to the goal ring, you can hear it before you see it. I couldn't hear it there, so I was really worried there about just missing it entirely and needing to get that again. Because getting the clip out first try, as I say, that's another thing where it's like, if you want to try speedrunning this game, try and get that clip out. I invite you to try and get that clip out. It's not easy at all. So final RNG stage here, Meteor Herd. Yeah, final RNG stage, so I'm not going to need to worry about the RNG after getting through the stage at all. This is not a particularly good first piece, but I don't want to waste my lives here. And I don't think I have a possible free piece there, so we're just going to continue up to the top of the stage, then go to the right after this rocket drops us off. That's the first piece. Thankfully, there's a hint monitor right after the first piece, so we'll know where we're going very quickly.
It's close, 2 more left.
Moon and Missile. This is a very rare piece, actually. Like, this is not a common piece at all.
It's closer. 1 more left.
And I just need 1 more hint monitor. So what's the last piece of the run? Mini Steel Beam. Oh, that's a good last piece at least. That's right over here. Okay, that was actually way above average RNG for Meteor Herd. Finishing within 40 seconds is way above average. Times in that stage can go as low as 17 seconds, but it's a 1 in 1,024 chance for that to happen. Like, you would not expect that to happen in a run. So that was Knuckles' last stage. Now I've got Knuckles' last boss, the Rouge boss fight. Now a lot of people might remember this as you like fly around a lot, you need to hunt it down, it takes quite a while. This fight is hopefully going to be done within 15 seconds. I'm just going to go straight for her when I gain control and just try and hit her 4 times as soon as possible and keep her locked down in a passive pan.
Now you made me mad. No, I mean, this
Easy.
true.
Is that that's a 5.9. Wow, 14.5 is ridiculously fast in that fight. Most of my attempts in that fight are a 0.6 or a 0.7. Getting a 0.5 is ridiculously fast. Alright, so I really hope I'm going to get this first try. You know what's coming up.
Oh, I know what's coming up.
I'll let you take commentary here.
All right, so we're going for Crazy Gadget Skip Skip. And it's named Crazy Gadget Skip Skip because it skips the original Crazy Gadget Skip. Now, there's going to be a lot of skewed gravity in this level. The way that it works is you're manipulating gravity with these panels. We are not going to be doing any of that. We are going to be jumping out of bounds through kill planes using the smallest possible space that we have available.
Yep. Multiple kill planes that I need to avoid.
Yep.
I can't see what I'm doing when I do it.
So we're coming to it here. We set it off onto the left-hand side. We come to the very bottom. Charge a spin dash. Gets his jump, he gets out of bounds.
Nice.
Now we're falling.
I am not sure about this angle. This isn't over. I need to find the goal ring now.
Coming up. And...
Yes!
Got it!
If you miss the goal ring, you die. Like, when you jump out of bounds, if you miss the jump, you die. If you don't turn up soon enough, you die. If you turn up too sharply, you die. If you don't turn back down fast enough, you die. And then if you go anywhere in the wrong direction during that whole fall, you die. Like, that is really precise. Alright, Eggman 2, the casual killer boss. Again, people can't do this boss, people game over on this boss. 14 seconds, easy peasy.
Alright, no more games, Tails. Now you've done it. No.
1-5. What the hell? That time is so fast. That is like a 1/10 of a second below the theoretical best time. What the hell? Okay. Should I go for faster far? Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, Draco's Get Good at Bosses series.
Oh dear. Alright, so I'm gonna go for a skip here, which has basically a 12% chance of working. I'm literally just gonna throw myself at a kill plane and hope that I'm going so fast that I don't interact with it. That on one frame I'm behind it, and then on the next frame I'm in front of it. I'm just gonna launch myself with a skewed gravity bounce into space, and if I go ballistic after a couple of seconds, you know that I got it. I'm probably not gonna get this though. Oh, alright, I didn't get it, yeah. Most of the time that happens, like, nobody goes for that in runs. This is a skip that, like, saves 10 seconds over what I'm gonna do here. Nobody attempts that, because it barely ever works, and nobody wants to reach this point in a run and basically be throwing away their run. So what I'm instead doing here is I'm maintaining skewed gravity, and I'm falling around all the kill planes in the stage. If I wait for a certain time to reset my gravity, now I turn to a specific angle, and I died there, oh well. Alright, I'm going to be watching very carefully once the camera pans around to know exactly what my timing is for this. Dude. Alright, I'm going to have to restart the stage to get a consistent timing for this. Dude, I'm missing that a lot as well, wow. Okay, I had to do a backup there to make sure I didn't die. That's fine. Camera was not behaving how I expected there, but we'll deal with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, I'm going to reset my gravity at 38 on the timer. Okay, so we avoided the kill planes. It's not quite over yet. I do need to make it to the end of the stage, and the problem here is that I could have had an easier time avoiding the kill planes if I just fell sideways for longer, but that means I fall further away from the end of the stage, and I need to maintain enough height to actually make it to the end of the stage. So you need to like cut this as close as possible, and you can't see where the kill planes are, so this is actually very precise. Most top runners, when we reach this point in a run, we don't even think about this skip. Yeah, it's the end of the stage. Like, we take it as a given that if you reach this point, you're going to finish the run, but we kind of forget how precise this is. Like, the margin for error when you're measuring the distance here is not very large at all. But that part of the stage is not solid. We avoided another bunch of kill planes, and we just fall straight into the goal ring.
Yes!
So it's just the final boss of the run now. Shadow 2. And normally you would take this fight fairly slow and safe. You'd let him run into the distance, use a special attack.
No problem.
I'm just going to be timing 5 hits back to back. I'm just going to be following him and using a series of homing attacks for each hit. Time is on the 5th hit. That is when the in-game timer stops in this fight. That's the last part of gameplay in the run. So I'm going to be counting out the hits as I get them, and time is on 5.
The true power of chaos control.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're better than I thought.
Time.
I am the ultimate light.
Game over,
All right.
Shadow.
What's the damage?
37, 19.
Ouch. It was entertaining, at least.
Yeah, it was good.
It's underestimate.
You get one donation in just towards the end from Salad. Hey guys, congrats on such a great UKSM event. I wish I was there. Draco is a great guy and I've loved this run. Hope the rest of the event goes well. That was a £10 donation.
Thank you very much, Salad. Officially the greatest speed runner in the United Kingdom. Speed run being 2 words in that instance. He'll understand what that means.
That's just mean. That's mean.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Salad. Thank you, everyone donating. Thank you, everyone here at EGX supporting. Thanks to everyone putting on EGX. Everyone making this happen is amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Well, with that, we will be cutting to our next intermission. We are going to have not the planned run of Tomb Raider, but instead Spyro Reignited with Nost, just so that we can...
Thank you for visiting EGX.
Give me a second, stream.
The exhibition is now closed. The after-hours event continues until
She's still talking.
10 p.m. Please make your way to the area south.
So who's up for drinks
then?
We're going to be having, next up, I've forgotten your name, Nost, with Spyro. So we'll be right back for that.
Jojo, Yari, do one of you two want to let the server know? I'm going to go out back. I was wondering this. I know! It should have been really obvious. And then here's what see, it's good. Right. That was really.
Are you back tomorrow, yeah?
I'm here all weekend.
Sweet, good.
I'm here all weekend.
Well, we're planning tomorrow